Here's a rundown of some of the stories we're working on. Today is International Women's Day, and we're live in Paris next to talk about the 1 Billion Rising project. And then, did Pat Robertson really say he wants to see marijuana legalized? He really did. And later, a lottery millionaire caught on camera using food stamps. She says she wasn't doing anything wrong. After all, she's not working. What do you think? We're going to tackle that next. And moments ago, First Lady Michelle Obama, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton observed International Women's Day by honoring women of courage. But even on a day that celebrates female achievement, we are learning some startling statistics about women and abuse, including the fact that 1 in 3 women worldwide will be raped or beaten in her lifetime. My next guest, she is doing her part to try to stop the violence. She's award-winning playwright and activist Eve Ensler. She wrote the Vagina Monologues, and she joins us to discuss her latest project, 1 Billion Rising. Eve, great to have you here. Can you explain what you're doing next? What is this new initiative about?
Yes, I'm happy to be there and be here, and happy Women's Day. We have been doing V-Day for the last 14 years. It's a movement, as you know, to end violence against women and girls across the world. And we've had amazing victories and amazing results, but we're still seeing enormous violence everywhere. And what we've decided to do for our 15th anniversary, which is next year, next February 14, 2013, is to really push the issue further and say the time has come for women and all the men, people who love them, to rise up and say we don't accept, we don't allow, we don't want any more violence against women and girls, and for people to walk out of their jobs, walk out of their homes, walk out of their schools, and gather with their friends, gather with their posses, gather with whoever in stadiums, in churches, in mosques, in synagogues, in streets, in beaches, on deserts, and dance. Because one of the things I think we haven't yet come to see is that violence against women is the central issue of our time. If women are desecrated, raped, mutilated, burned, acid burned, destroyed as babies, the list is endless. The future is destroyed and muted and undone. And I think there's so many people who are joined with us now.
Eve, why hasn't it improved?
Yes.
Why hasn't it gotten better? Like, I mean, 1 in 3, that's a startling statistic. Why is it still that bad?
It's hard to tell whether it's gotten worse or just more women are talking about it now. When we started V-Day 14 years ago, we couldn't even say the word vagina. We couldn't talk about these issues. Women weren't breaking the silence. And I think many more women now are coming forward. I think it's changed in the sense that we now talk about the issue. But I think we still haven't ended patriarchy. We still haven't ended this whole idea that we're in, that somehow men dominate, men determine the agenda, men have the authority, and women come later. And I think violence is the mechanism which keeps patriarchy in its place. It's the methodology.
What do you think of the violent language that we've heard recently, this controversy around Rush Limbaugh, the Georgetown students, Sandra Fluke? What do you think it says about where we are now, the fact that there is this big debate going on about this popular radio host calling this young woman a slut?
I find the whole thing incredibly disturbing. I find it very disturbing that a young woman who came forward to talk about why we need health care and support and birth control should be even thought of being attacked, but to call her a slut, to demean her, to say things like she should send in sext videos of her sex as payback, that's coercion. That's a form of attack in itself. And I think Rush Limbaugh should be put out of business. I think people shouldn't support Rush Limbaugh, but furthermore, I think we need to look at a dialogue in this country around women, how easy it is somehow for the dialogue to slam into degrading and undermining and a language that reflects the kind of violence that lives in the culture.
And Eve, do you think there's a double standard here? Because some folks have said, look, you know, this goes both ways, Republicans and Democrats who've used violent language in describing women.
I suddenly feel somehow, I was laughing the other day, I suddenly feel like we've somehow entered this new terrible vagina monologue that's been seized by men. Just the images we had of people, you know, all a line of men determining the future of women's bodies. I think we all have to look at the language we're using about women, and we all have to start thinking about really Why aren't women determining the agenda for their own bodies? Why aren't we coming forward to say, like, what goes on inside us, what kind of contraception we use, what kind of health care we are entitled to, what kind of insurance we should have, whether we determine the future of our bodies and the future of our lives, which are always connected up with our bodies.
All right, Eve Ensler, good to see you. As you said, happy International Women's Day. Thank you.
And I hope everybody will come next year and rise up.
I hear something you wouldn't expect.